Right.
And what about hashtags? Are they still relevant?
No, no more relevant. Hashtags are no longer relevant. So it's really like they are still used, but it's more for branding, right? So where, oh, maybe we use this photo. No, maybe we use that photo. Maybe we use this word. No, we use that word. And then we end up sending out the open house invite 2 days before, where, we should have been sending it out at least 7 to 10 days before.
Right. This is a metaphorical we in this scenario. It's not like we actually did that. Just kidding. It's happened. Hi, and welcome back to the Miami Real Estate Podcast. I'm Omar DeWint, Senior Vice President of Corporate Communications here at Savita Real Estate. Summer is over and season is about to begin. And with that, we are bringing you a fresh batch of episodes here on Miami's #1 rated real estate podcast. So today, to kick things off here in the studio, we're going to focus on marketing trends. I think our audience always loves that when we talk about it. And joining me for that conversation is a true friend of the pod, the one and only Anastasiia Mann. Anastasiia, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Omar, for having me. Definitely a full circle moment here.
It is full circle. It's full circle because we go way back in the sense that we know each other now more than 10 years from our time here at Savita working together in the marketing department. You now have your own agency where you're kicking butt and taking names for developers and agents. But so there's nobody better than you, I guess, to join me in the studio to talk about what's really working, what's not working for agents and developers in terms of trends moving forward. But before we get into all that good stuff, why don't you take some time to introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. So my name is Anastasiia Mann. I'm originally from Ukraine. I started my U.S. journey when I was in college. After graduation, I went into HR for about a year, realized that wasn't something I would like to continue doing. And in 2013, I became a marketing assistant here at Cervera, and the rest is the history. So grew, started was started with project marketing because we needed help on that. Moved into general real estate, went back to project marketing, and in 2021, I it started my own agency. And yes, since then it's been a wide ride, but I love it. Working with developers, working with agents, working with brokerages. So it's been a really rewarding experience, and very grateful for my time here at Cervera and everything that I learned from Anuka, from you, and from all the team, the partners, Jesse. So yeah.
Love it. So I think you've definitely, you've come such a, I guess, like far away. We all have, but you definitely have, sort of always had a knack for what's new, what's next, and like always have your finger on the pulse of marketing trends. And I love that about you. Always finding new softwares, new tools, new trends. So your insight is going to be really helpful for our audience, right? Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, to set the groundwork. How has marketing in the marketing field changed? Mostly since, let's say, 10 years ago to now, as it relates specifically to real estate marketing.
So I think that what have changed a lot is, of course, the focus on digital marketing. That's number one, but also storytelling and branding. I think that we focused really, we put a really big focus here at Cervera on storytelling when you joined the team. So I will give big kudos to you because that was part of how we developed that whole storyline and bring like the stories of real people and why behind what Cervera does. And I think that this was the biggest shift that I've seen since starting in 2013 was how storytelling is really shifting the way we do marketing, right? And right now it's all about developing the persona, the buyer persona, developing the storyline behind each project, who lives there, why they live there. And the same with the agent. Right now, it's all about personal brand, right? It's not just about selling and posting pictures of your listings or projects. It's about building that brand that shows that people can trust you, that your potential buyers and sellers can trust and what you do, and also showing the expertise behind it. Obviously, the AI and how that whole thing shifted the way we do marketing. Definitely, there is an information overload, and everyone can produce a post in a matter of minutes, seconds probably, but it's really about being very intentional and sharing your insight, your personal insight versus just what ChatGPT or Plot or whatever language model you're using gives you. I think that's where the biggest shift is happening, where there is so much information, and now we have to be very intentional in what we put out.
Mm. What do you so when you say being intentional in what we put out, like, what do you mean by that?
So, what I mean by that is that it's really it comes into strategy, right? And what is the main goal? So instead of just okay, today I'm going to talk about why Miami, and tomorrow I'm going to talk about this neighborhood and that restaurant, and now I'm going to promote my listing. It's really like what is the main goal of your whole marketing? Are you looking for sellers? Are you looking for buyers? Are you looking for investors? What's the end goal? And always keeping that in mind when creating a strategy for your social, for your email marketing, for your digital ads, for your
Sure.
print advertising, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, content strategy, I guess, is super important, and having a sort of roadmap to where you're going, understanding who your core audience is, and then speaking to them, I guess, in the way the storytelling that addresses the pain points in the journey that they're going on. I guess if that makes sense. What do you think is, and you kind of touched on this, but the biggest shift that developers and agents are doing to approach marketing, is that kind of like the storytelling, or is there more to that?
Um, we go from tactical to strategy, right? So before, when we were launching a project, right, we were like thinking in terms of sales collateral. Okay, we need a brochure, we need a fact sheet, we need this, that, and the other, right? And sometimes it wasn't very like we mentioned that before, but there was no story really behind that project. Who is there living in the project? There was no, maybe a little less video content.
Mm.
Now we focus so much more on creating that story behind who lives in that building, who is the resident, who owns that residence and that condo or that home, and creating all of our marketing materials around that, and also with the sales goal in mind, right? So I think sometimes we always see, one of the reasons why I started the agency was because I saw the disconnect of marketing agencies producing beautiful materials, like gorgeous brochures and everything, but there was no like sales message in line. It wasn't necessarily something that would help the sales team to sell. It was a beautiful brochure. It was a beautiful coffee book. But I think bringing that back and also answering questions in the middle of those brochures that buyers will have buying that property. Why this is the best project for me.
Mhm.
Why, like we there's such a big competition, right? And new products came to market, like the short-term rental products and the office mix products. And, there's so much more new things. And also the luxury, super luxury buildings, ultra luxury. We all have like the same list of amenities. There are some new things that are added, but it's really about showcasing that lifestyle in that neighborhood. And what does that mean? And building a brand around what that means to own at Aston Martin Residences or to own at 1428 Brickell.
Sure.
Another shift that I see is also there was a big shift from traditional forms of and print advertising to digital, right? So that's a huge shift that happened through social media, through Google Ads, and all of that. Now, um, I think we put less focus on traditional, which is, you know, of course, it makes sense to put less focus. However, I don't want to disregard the typical forms of advertising like PR is on the high of its importance with the AI being back. Was AI being so let me restart this. Okay, so PR I think is very, very important right now as and social media. And why is because a lot of buyers are coming now to the ChatGPT, to Claude and all these models to ask what is the best project in Miami. I'm looking for this amenities and in this neighborhood, what are the options for new construction buildings and things like that. And where the AI pulls all that information, it comes back to our typical SEO information. So they're pulling it from Google, pulling it from Yahoo, Bing, and all of the search channels, and having a strong presence within your website, of course, answering questions in the blog post, and being featured in all of the important publications, the real estate publications.
Sure.
That makes a huge difference now. So I think that's probably the biggest shift.
Sure. And what about, so that's like on the project side. And then what about with agents, independent contractors? Let's say, I know you work a lot of times with different top producers. What do you do when you're first starting out with an agent? Like, what does that process look like? And what are the things that you're looking for in terms of their social media or their marketing mix that they could do to improve?
I think the very first question that I have to anybody that I start working with is that what is the end goal? We just touched base.
Sure.
Do you want to be known as the seller's agent? Do you want to be known as buyer's agent? Do you want to specialize in specific neighborhood? Do you want to be known as a pre-construction specialist that knows everything about every product in the market? So if an investor comes or someone who wants to buy a new construction comes, you can answer all the questions, and then we build on that, right? In the end, it's again we're building the brand, so having a really good photography, really good video footage, and of course getting the agents comfortable in front of the camera.
Sure.
I know I'm usually behind the camera, so this is my first appearance to be in front of the camera, and it's not the most comfortable way of doing things. But I think that right now it is very, very important, and the agents who make time to work to get out of that comfort zone and be on video and be in front of the camera and have really strategic messaging that they put out in their social media, in their email marketing, in digital ads.
Yep.
That's all that matters now.
Yeah, I believe it. And I think video is so important because authenticity remains one of the sort of key factors that are influencing whether somebody wants to work with you or not. And through video, I feel like you can really convey more of your authenticity, your emotion, like spark a connection with the potential customers to then want to pick up the phone or like hit that message to learn more. But I guess it's easier said than done because it's not everybody's comfortable in front of the camera, but I guess you have to break out of your comfort zone sometimes.
You do. Like, if there's one thing that I recommend would be, and also to myself as well, like one of my on my bucket list is to do like public speaking classes,
Sure.
right? Because I think it's not necessarily public speaking. It's like also be
Like Toastmasters and stuff like that?
yeah, things like that. Because it really helps first develop the thought and how to present it to the audience that is approachable,
Sure.
and that also showcases you as an expert in the field.
Yeah. So let's stay on this thread because I think this is good for our audience in terms of like just practical, easy things. So you mentioned a very good one, which is look at your sort of get a professional photographer, just like, clean up your like the image that you're putting out there. And maybe a video shoot is huge because that could maybe be something that plays into the storytelling. Maybe you're getting content in the neighborhood that you're a specialist in, or like a day in the life or something that you can kind of chop up that video footage into a few different reels so you get like pieces of content, right? But what else? Like once you do that,
Mhm.
like what are some of the other first steps that an agent with a basic social media footprint can do to start, like how do you take them to the next level?
Yes. So right now, the big shift that happened within the social media world is that Google is indexing social media posts.
Okay. Which
And
means?
which means is that now the instead of just being searchable within the Instagram platform, it's searchable on the web. So if you put out a lot of content about best projects in Miami, as an example, right? Or a lot of seller advice or buyer advice and answering questions that people are searching for, like if I want to start to sell my home, what do I do? Type of questions, right? Uh, Google will pick up on those Instagram posts. How to like there have, but now that that's happening, you approach your captions and the way you post in a different way because you have first of all the captions are tend to be a little longer that we all know and we've seen that it's no longer like oh imagine having coffee on this beautiful balcony type of thing. It's more about like okay this is the project in Edgewater or this project is in Brickell or this the listing is
But I'm sorry to interrupt. So
yes.
what do you think like is that good or I don't know like is it shorter, longer? What's better? Like do people actually
So
read it?
no, I think that I mean obviously it all comes into SEO. So you want a longer caption.
The longer is better.
You want to include your contact information now in every caption. It's no longer DM me for more information. You want to include your phone number, your email address.
Yeah.
Because it's now that people are coming instead of just going to Instagram and trying to connect with you on Instagram, now they have the chance to actually pick up the phone and call you. Right.
And what about hashtags? Are they still relevant?
No, no more relevant. Hashtags are no longer relevant. So it's really like they are still used, but it's more for branding, right? So if we want to be like, okay, hashtag Cervera real estate makes sense, right? Because that is our brand. And if you search for all the posts Cervera posted, it's there. But they're no longer helping you with reach or anything like that as when Instagram just started.
Sure. Okay. And what else? What are some of the other things that are changing or that you're doing?
So the other things is adding that alt text to the images. So when you post or reels, when you post, you want to go back and the back, like click more and update the name of that image. So it's no longer screenshot 567, but actually naming what that, either name of the project or the listing address, right? So you want to include that within the image or the reel. Um, so that is like on the Instagram side. I think that that's a big shift. What happened recently is to make sure that your content now it's no longer just lives on Instagram. It actually can start generating leads outside and the searches as well.
And you're saying you accomplish that now with the indexing through Google and by writing captions that are more like SEO friendly, like as if you would on a website or a blog.
Correct.
Okay. What else, Anastasiia? What's some of the so let's say you're starting with a new agent, they bring you on, they're doing decent business, but they want to go to the next level. They have a social media account. Most everybody does by this point. They're kind of posting something, but it's a little bit haphazard. Um, and they bring you on, right? Like
Yes.
what are some of the other like so you coordinate a photo shoot, right? You have great reels. What else is
Yeah.
happening? And what are some of the biggest mistakes that agents make that you're like, stop doing this today?
Yes. Okay. So, uh, of course, being very intentional with your branding. So, when you do develop your brand, please make sure that you love it from the beginning. And if you don't love it, let's fix it, right? So, make sure that you do what you put out there. All of your content needs to have that similar look and feel.
Mhm.
So, all of it, right? So, if you decided to use blue, make sure that you're using that blue, those fonts, and you don't switch back and forth. Just to bring that, so the first is consistency and making sure that you are representing yourself on all of the aspects the same. Your website, your social media presence, your email marketing, your ads if you're running ads, your postcards, etc. Right? So all of that needs to be consistent. Number two, timeliness of communication. What I mean by that is that, sometimes we spiral and like kind of decision
Paralysis.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Where, maybe we use this photo. No, maybe we use that photo. Maybe we use this word. No, we use that word. And then we end up sending out the open house invite 2 days before, where, we should have been sending it out at least 7 to 10 days before.
Right. This is a metaphorical we in this scenario. It's not like we actually did that. Just kidding. It's happened.
Correct. So I think that part of it is also like, yes, absolutely. I'm all about excellence. But if you go for perfect, a lot of times we miss the point of being timely on our conversations, communications,
I think what is it Alicia says? Perfect is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Or perfect is the enemy of getting things done.
Yes, perfect is the enemy of getting things done for sure. So that's another thing. Also paying too much attention, actually paying too much attention on digital and neglecting the traditional ways of doing marketing is what I see now. That people, the agents really think that being social media will generate most of their leads, for example, right? I think that, yes, it is very important. There is a strategy behind to generate those leads, but we are leaving behind our traditional ways of doing marketing. Networking, farming still works beautifully. So if you are deciding to do farm an area and generate leads in the area, being consistent. So it means that you want to send out that postcard every single month. Rain or shine, you are sending that postcard out, right? And that will bring you results.
And what are you including in the postcard? What's the best, most effective postcard in your opinion?
It's sharing obviously sharing the market study. So like for people who are looking to sell, or eventually like they're exploring that option, right? Because that's who we want to target. When we are farming, we are targeting sellers that we want to bring those leads on. They are looking to see what's the price per square foot, right? They are looking to see like what are like in their neighborhood, what's selling, what were those listings were listed at, what they were sold at. Again, what was that price per square foot? And also, of course, the news on your. So if you are the listing agent in that neighborhood, make sure that you're including your listings in there, even though not necessarily that you're looking for buyers, but you still want to include your for sale listing to showcase. If you are producing the results, or if you sold recently, make sure that you say that those are sold. Make sure that the signs are up, and talk to the sellers or owners and ask them to keep that just sold sign for a little longer, right? Because that brings you awareness in the neighborhood when people are driving by. And also like the simple things like QR codes and the things like that, I think is, and even what I see working really well right now is collaborating with local businesses.
Really?
And where like including a little incentive for you to collect the lead data. So, for example, it could be, grab a coffee on me at Pura Vida, um, scan this code to claim, right? And then you collect that data. So you have the email address now, you have the phone number, you have the name, and like the information. Like, are you looking to sell? What are you looking to learn more about the
Right.
real estate? And then you can retarget that. Um, and another thing that I see that a lot of people are neglecting their leads. So what that
Really?
is, where you would
No, it's like you work so hard for a lead and then you neglect it.
pretty much, because then you forget to add it to your um, email blast platforms or things like that, or you add them too late. And the biggest benefit of AI and marketing automations now, and what I try to automate on my side when I work with agents and developers, is to do as many automations as possible, so we do not lose that lead in the process.
So give me an example of like an automation mix that you do for an agent or a developer.
So, like, to come back to that QR code, when someone scans the QR code, they fill out that form for you. or the form comes in the website, now not only that you receive an email and a text message that someone filled out your form, but it also automatically gets added to your MailChimp or Flowdesk or whatever you use for your email marketing. And we can also search, and that's a little more advanced, but it's possible. You search by name and email, and AI can do that search for you on your behalf to find their LinkedIn profile and to find their Instagram profile. And then you can, with LinkedIn, you can automate sending the request to be friends with them on LinkedIn, for example. So now that you did that process, your next e-blast or your next newsletter is going out to them.
Sure.
Without even of course reach out and talk to them what they need, what they're reached out and filled out the form for, but as a keeping that in the loop of what's going on and that you are still active and what you do is very important. So having that timely conversation and producing really good content on your email marketing as well is very important.
Sure. And that's also, you're talking about uh automations, right, to sort of cultivate or nurture new leads. What can agents do that have an existing database? And maybe it's more of what you're talking about already, but let's say for these agents that already have such a robust database, but what are some of the things and ways that you help them sort of like capitalize on that? Because I do believe that so much more of your business is coming from the people who know you, like you, and trust you, obviously, than trying to convert a web lead.
Absolutely. So the first thing that we do, we develop that email marketing strategy, right? So besides your typical like listing update and things like that, uh, my first recommendation is to segment your list. And that is something, and we talk about it this is like the ABC of real estate marketing is segmenting your list and making sure that it's clear, who are the potential buyers, who are the potential sellers. Obviously, if you worked with that buyer, like someone bought out of the potential buyer list, now they're probably, I think, what is the 5 to 7 years is the gap between selling that
Average,
home,
yeah.
the average. But so now maybe they're just going into your like why Miami bucket and like fun news around neighborhood, but you still keep them informed of everything what's going on.
And that awareness.
So, it's like when you do start with and organize the list first, that's very important at the beginning, but that maintenance of that, right? If someone actually buys, they're no longer in your potential buyer list because then you're losing that lead. And like most likely they will unsubscribe if you're constantly selling them.
Right. And now, like everybody who's listening can relate to this. You're getting bombarded and spammed by a realtor, a company, whomever that's just like in your inbox every other day. And eventually, unless you have a close relationship with them, you're like hitting unsubscribe. And even sometimes you're like, I'm sorry, John, I love you, but I can't take any more of it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So part of it is like it's that maintenance. And now the beautiful thing about AI, and I do my best to learn as much as I can and to leverage it for my clients, is that it could be all automated too on the back end. It is a complicated process. It takes hours sometimes to get that done. But when you do get it done, you don't have to think about it again.
Yeah, I can see that. Although I will push back on that in the sense that I feel like as an agent, one should take the time, as painstaking as it is, to go through your database and segment those people, because in a way since that's like the core of your business, it's going to prompt you and remind you somebody that maybe you forgot about, that maybe it's not just, yes, you segment them into a list, but then maybe they're getting a text message like, hey, how are the kids? Or, like just kind of like checking in, or even a phone call, like on a more human level,
Absolutely, yeah.
but I mean, I do support AI and automation, but I think cleaning up the list manually and maybe even taking advantage of a CRM, which I don't think every agent does. I know not every agent does, like, is I think a big sort of hole where people are leaving money on the table.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be a complicated database. You don't have to go to like Salesforce or HubSpot right away, right? Like you know, I can give all the kudos to you for bringing Airtable.
You think I paid her to come on and shower me with these compliments? I did. No.
No,
Airtable, yeah, I love Airtable.
yeah, so Airtable is like my ride or die in my business
You use it for your database too?
I use it for my database.
Yeah.
And right now, like they come up every time there is a new something that comes up as a feature
Yeah.
on Airtable, and you can leverage it so much. Like that could be your main base, and then that could be spread out into different aspects. Like if you're using MailChimp or Constant Contacts or Flowdesk, it could be all
Yeah.
flowing everywhere, right? So
John, we need an affiliate link for Airtable for the podcast.
that's right.
But yeah, so you have like a simple CRM there, and then it has automations. I know I have like kind of played around with it a little bit and different things you can do.
Yes, absolutely. So all of the leads can come to that one database. So your website leads are coming there. If someone fills out the same thing, there is other automations that are happening on the background with social media, right? So we talk about ManyChat, and I don't see a lot of agents utilizing ManyChat in their social media strategies. Uh, but it's very simple. It's like, okay, so if I'm talking about this market report, and this is what my post is about. If someone wants to learn more and get actual PDF of that report or a video where I talk more about it, comment report, and the automated DM is getting sent, so you don't have to like scout for comments or anything like that. Of course, make sure that you are very active within your social and your DMs because that's where leads are coming from and all of that. But at the same time, like for simple things like that, it could be all automated where links comes, you get a comment and then out of when that comment is submitted, the program sends them a question like, what's your name? What's your email address? And then they will send them either a direct link. It's up to you what you would like to, how do you like to set it up? A link to that a report, or you get that lead into Airtable, and then
Sure.
that lead goes into MailChimp or Flowdesk or whatever you're using. And then that system sends them automatic email with that report.
Sure. Nice. And I should mention, since they pay the bills here, that Cervera Real Estate offers its agents an amazing CRM system that is very robust and one of the industry leaders. If you email careers@cervera.com and ask for Mike Monte, tell him Omar sent you, we'll get a great split. Can't fully back that last one up, but yes, you'll get a good split. And a great amount of team support. But Anastasiia, sticking kind of on the database topic, I know we didn't like plan to talk about it, but I think it's so important. You used to teach an amazing database class to help agents organize their database, but sort of in a simple method here, if you could, what is your tip to an agent that is out there that has maybe they're starting or they already have been in the business for years, but you've got your phone book on your, your iPhone or whatever Android you're using. Then you've got your Gmail database, and maybe you've got some spreadsheets that you've organized with different leads and stuff. And what's the easiest way, in your opinion, to sort of get it cleaned up and into one place? And how do you like maintain that? Like, what do you suggest to people and you?
Yes. So the first step, of course, is to get it all out into some type of spreadsheet, right? And it could be as simple as Excel, like CSV file, or again, Airtable, Google Sheets, whatever you're using. The way to do it, there are different apps, right? So as you mentioned, like most of our contacts living within our phone book, right? So there is an app that we used to use. I'm not sure if it's still around, but it's called Contacts Lite. And that app would allow you to download your whole contact list into the CSV file. You do need to clean it up because a lot of times we have like duplicates and things like that. But now with the AI, all you need to do is pretty much upload it into ChatGPT and ask, please clean this up. I would like a clean Excel where it has the first name in one column, second name, last name, phone number, email address, company name, title, whatever you have. But my biggest tip, especially that now It's so easy to just bump your phones and get that contact information. Number one is to make sure that your contact information is properly saved. You have your name, your title, what you do, your picture, everything is there. So when you do bump that phone, the person that receives it can recognize. And I like to also say to people when I do that is that make sure you make a note in that contact on how we met. So that could remind us, like if this was the contact that I met at the Real Deal or Profile Miami or whatever other, event or happy hour that you attend, a networking event, make sure that you make that little note because eventually you'll forget.
Yeah.
Right. But having that picture on yourself is huge. Like that you have all of that information. And then another part is that I like to take a screenshot
Of
that contact person and then kind of know that. And when I do go in, and then there are automations again, and you can set those automations by Zapier or Make.com. Like there's all these platforms that allow for you to do that. You can say that if the contact is getting added into my phone book, I would like that contact to go to Airtable.
Interesting.
And things like that. And then I like to make, and it's maintenance. So every week you should have on your calendar as like non-negotiable is to make sure that you update your database, that you look through all of those new contacts that were added that week, you make the notes, and then your life will become so much easier.
Yeah. So one of the things I was thinking as you mentioned this was if you can have your contacts that you add on your phone backed up to go into, let's say, like your Outlook email or your CRM automatically, I think you can do that with the backup function on iCloud. But then you were talking about you take a screenshot or when a contact is added, you have an automation that just manually inputs it into or automatically inputs it into Airtable?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
And then like that also triggers that being added to your email blasting platform or, whatever your CRM, wherever you want it to also go. So I think that having that is very interesting. You can also set up like those little drip campaigns, right away. And that's easy. So let's say you met 20 people that you met at that event that you got a collected business card. So you have them in your phone. Instead of sending those 20 emails, you can say, hey, it was very nice to meet you at the Real Deal. Let's grab coffee or,
Sure.
whatever you want in that drip campaign. Or let's grab virtual coffee. Here's the link to schedule a Calendly meeting with me now. And now everything is automated. Again, you're meeting via Zoom or etc. So I think that there is ways to leverage the technology where it makes your life as a real estate agent or developer, or a brokerage much easier. That used to require a lot of manual work before.
Right. Yeah. AI and automation is definitely making our lives easier. Anastasiia, to keep this going, and I'm just going to jump back quickly to Instagram and social media. I'm all over the place here, but stay with me. What do you think in terms of frequency? Because we talked about things to do, but we didn't talk like, what do you think about posting frequency? And I guess that applies to email marketing too, which we were just talking about. So how often is good, or maybe too much, when it comes to posting on social and also email blasting?
Yes. So frequency, I recommend between 15 to 20 posts every single month. I do not think that it is necessary right now just to put out information to put it out. It's more about being intentional and giving a really good information. Like I don't want to do like a post of a sunset and say, oh, it's a beautiful sunset here in Miami. Like obviously it is a beautiful sunset. However, it's like what is the value of that post, right? Now, I would much rather spend that time developing a very cohesive story of why Miami
Sure.
to that concept. It could be part of it is like it's just beautiful city, right? It's
Right. Maybe your
magic
beautiful
city.
sunsets is a part of the carousel of the Why Miami lifestyle overall
Correct.
posts.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I think that less is more, meaning that I would much rather have a really good content versus posting every single day.
Sure.
And I would not. I think that the very important part is also, besides posting, making sure that you are active in stories.
Does that mean by sharing your posts to stories or separately having like different stories?
I think separate, right? But you have to have like also a separate strategy for stories, because that's one number one. Yes, share your post. Make sure, because that will bring more eyeballs to the post.
So you
That
post like on the feed and then you share it to stories?
then you share it to stories. However, number two is also,
Isn't that redundant though? Like why am I doing that?
because the Instagram is like, it's no longer showing post to your. It's I think the right now the statistics, and do not quote me on that, but I believe it's just 15% of your followers will actually see that post.
Really? So stories is getting essentially more eyeballs now than feed posts.
Yes, and think about like your own activity when you go to Instagram.
Looking
What's
at
your
stories?
first place to go? Like, what are you looking at first? Personally, I probably go through stories first of, people that I follow,
Sure.
and then I scroll down
I see
after
what you're
that is
saying.
done. So if you think like that, if that's part of like your kind of routine, most likely other people are doing a similar thing. So I do like to keep the stories. Number one, the post that you posted, add it to the story, and then also do a little bit of behind the scenes as well, so people can connect with you on a personal level.
Sure.
Because, as much as it is a business account that you're managing, and you are the business, people want to know that their views align with your views, and that that they maybe they also have little kids and you have little kids. I I'm very private, so I don't show my kids' faces on social media and things like that. However, like just showcasing, like, yes, like prep to going to school started and things like that that people can relate to.
Mhm.
I think is very important, because like, oh, they have little kids and I have little kids, and so they get what
Sure.
they get why the neighborhood is so important. They get why I want to be in this particular street, because that's feeding in this particular school, etc.
Sure. And what about we talked about frequency for social, but what about what's a recommended for cadence for email marketing?
Email marketing, I would say once a week is a good touch point. Sometimes twice a week is also good, depending if what information you put out. Um, I think that I've actually recorded a podcast on the importance of personal newsletters.
Okay.
So I think nowadays we have so much, we are bombarded with beautiful flyers, right? Especially in real estate industry, because we get every single flyer from every single project that just came out, and other agents that are sharing information and etc. and just listed for sale. But what I see as a very unique way is do a personal newsletter that combines like maybe some news that you heard, some new restaurants that you've seen, maybe something that you visited, something about your personal life. Like it doesn't have to be all business, but that is actually copy. There is no beautiful visuals. There is nothing else but just a copy. And I feel like that actually builds much more trust now in including those personal newsletters in your business email mix.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you that I tested with my own business, and the uptake. Yes, I share also the blog post that I did, or maybe like something that relates to real estate. But I also mention a little like personal story from the behind the scenes, why that blog post was written and things like that. And I think that open rates and kind of consumption of the newsletters definitely increased by 10-15%.
Wow.
And on like just personal level that I have, like when I do the newsletters, like I see open rates of like 50%, which is definitely
That's
the
great.
industry average is 20%.
Right. It's awesome. Okay, and then to close out social, and unless there's anything else you want to add on social, we talked about the professional photography, the types of posts, storytelling, sharing feed posts to stories for that extra visibility. What about the old link tree and the whole bio? How are you treating that? And also the highlights. Are the highlights still relevant? So talk to me about that sort of section of a profile.
Okay. So bio, I think right now you really have to be clear on what you do, right? And what you want to represent. So if you focus on the neighborhood, then that's what you say. Real estate expert in Coconut Grove, or real estate expert in downtown Miami, or whatever that is. So you want to make sure that you have the location of where you are. Um, I do think it's important to add some accolades to the bio, so just to kind of showcase that you are that expert. So if you do have, like X amount of sales, like a billion in sales and things like that, if you have those numbers to back you up, go ahead, put it in. Don't forget to include the broker because that's part of your appliance. So you have to include who you are with.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you mentioned it. Just in terms of an FYI for all of our listeners, we've seen an uptick in agents, both within the brokerage, but just in general in the industry, getting demands and lawsuits for not uh, specifying on videos. Like if you're posting video content, which is great, make sure in the video and in the description, you make it very clear what brokerage you are affiliated with. Otherwise, they can come after you.
Correct. So like that is very important. So I think before like that one part of real estate course that we all take and hate,
And everybody listened to it, I'm sure.
every 2 years that we have to take about the legal compliance, do not skip marketing and like make sure that you're paying attention on how to make sure that you are compliant with all the laws. But yes, so I would definitely do the accolades as well, and then the bio site, treat it like a menu per se, right? So you want to make sure that there's a link to your website. If you're featured in any articles, add those links in the articles. If you are representing a project, make sure that that project website is there where the leads are actually going to you and not somewhere that you do not know how to track those leads. So just making sure that all of the important places where you are in that menu, I think is very important.
And what's your take on a public versus private profile?
I think as a business, you should have a business public account.
Now,
Okay.
follow-up question to that.
Um,
What is your take on if you're a realtor and let's say you've just started in real estate or you've been in for a while, but you've had a personal account way before business accounts came in? Is it recommended to make your personal the business account or to start fresh with a separate real estate business account? I see you smiling.
That's a tricky question because here, and it also depends on a person, right? So if you see that people who are following you in that personal account would be most likely your potential buyers, right? Or potential sellers, etc. And it's kind of like a lead generation machine that you want to develop versus, just sharing beautiful photos of you and your family and what you're doing on the weekends and things like that. It might make sense to clean it up and like maybe remove some images that you don't want to be shared public, and transform that account into your business account,
Sure.
right? However, if most of your followers are like friends and family that are, that are actually like following you because they want to see the updates on your kids and pictures of your kids and, your family or what you were doing, or, you have a completely different career like modeling or something like that, maybe that's not the best. And you should be doing a separate account for it. So it just depends on your goals and how private you are with your account.
Makes sense. I like it. We're going to take a quick break here with Anastasiia Mann, the CEO of Muse Marketing Group, and then we will continue this very insightful marketing conversation on the Miami Real Estate Podcast. Hey everyone. Remember, Cervera Real Estate is one of Miami's largest independently owned brokerages, and for more than 5 decades, we've been shaping the skyline of South Florida. With 10 offices and more than 14 exclusive new development projects, we're looking for the next generation of talent to join our team. I'm talking about you. At Cervera, you'll get state-of-the-art marketing tools, CRMs, and sales resources, everything that you need to thrive in new development sales, residential resales, and commercial. So if you're ready to be recognized for your talent and backed by the full Cervera platform, then email careers@cervera.com today and schedule your one-on-one consultation. Just tell them Omar sent you. All right, let's get back to the show. All right, Anastasiia, let's keep this going. So social media trends and marketing tips, right? So what about, we've covered Instagram. What about Facebook? Is it still relevant? And are you using not only it organically, but in terms of ads?
Yeah, so Facebook I do use like as an automatic addition to Instagram. So there's no different content strategy for Facebook per se, especially the Facebook pages. Because that content, I do not know if you've noticed, but barely ever you see any content from the pages in your feed. So what it is useful for, so what if you are planning to run advertisements either through Facebook or Instagram, you want to have that presence and you have to have that connected to your Instagram profile. So, but I don't do like or recommend any special strategy for Facebook versus Instagram.
Sure.
However, now that we touched base about the advertising, right? So let's talk about digital ads for a second. If you ask me, like what's my favorite place to advertise, I would say it would be Google Ads.
Okay.
And the logic behind it, and just like what I'm seeing from advertising for clients, is that you are getting such a you're getting a much better qualified lead from your Google ad, where people are actually searching what are you putting out. So, for example, and I'm talking about the keyword search, right? So, if you're searching for a Coconut Grove condo and Arbor pops up, that is the goal, right? So, you want to, you actively getting people into your funnel from that are searching for condos in Coconut Grove, right? When you are on Instagram or Facebook, you're trying to get entertained when you're scrolling. So the fact that someone is like, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I want a condo in Coconut Grove, and they fill out a form. It's not necessarily like someone proactively searching.
Right.
For
it's not like intent driven.
Yes. So when that happens, yes, chances are you might be able to close that deal, but it could be like much longer runway to close that deal. Or even they might say, oh, I didn't fill out any form, which happens all the time. And that because they clicked something and it's automatically filled out the form for them. And they just to click out, they clicked submit and that was it.
Right.
Right. So we've seen those go both ways.
I feel like in my experience of ads on Facebook or Instagram, they work for followers and maybe getting eyeballs if you want your post to look like it has more numbers. But I don't think I've ever seen a qualified lead come through for real estate on an ad that we've run.
Yes. I mean, it happens. I'm not going to disregard that. Like, especially on the project side, we see leads come in and they close on social media. However, if the budget is not unlimited, I would much rather 80% of your budget go to Google Ads and 20% of your budget goes to
what is the minimum ideal budget for Google Ads?
I wish there was an answer to that, but it really depends on who you're targeting, what are you targeting, and who is advertising, how much is the lead costing. So it's really...
Let's say I'm an agent, I'm your client, right? I want to either get more, and I don't know if you recommend this to get more clients clients, maybe it's buyers or sellers, or perhaps I have a listing that I'm trying to push. Would Google Ads make sense for this, or no? Do you steer this more towards like developer projects?
Uh, okay, so if you have a listing and you want to push it, it makes sense to do some Google Ads advertising. Like if it's in a specific neighborhood, it has like a really like something that people are searching for. So you have to think about it. Like, is it like new construction home in Miami Beach? Like, what is it that people might be searching for? And that would be like a way to do it. But I would much rather than see that on Zillow and do some sponsors like showcasing on Zillow versus just doing Google Ads. I think for listings, it's not working as well. It's more for projects that you would get more money for your dollars because you are competing then with new construction, big projects, and they're big budgets. So the cost per lead is really, really high. So I don't know if it makes sense to advertise listings on
Sure.
Google Ads, you know?
And just to pin you down on the number for then, let's say on the developer side, what would you recommend as a minimum number Google ad spend?
Again, like there is no, you're putting me in an uncomfortable position with this answer screen of that I can run numbers because there is a logic behind it and it will tell you when you start setting it up, like that on the back end of Google Ads, this is what's recommended based on who else is advertising within those keywords.
But you're talking about thousands,
But
probably.
yes, we're
Right.
talking about like $4,000 or $5,000, right?
Just to give people an idea of what Google Ads is in the neighborhood of.
Correct. Yes. No, it's not a like, and then the lead costs you. Let's say the lead is like the goal of Google Ads, of course, when you're optimizing the ads, is to bring the lead um cost lower, right? So that's part of like optimizing Google Ads. But sometimes the lead costs you $300. And, so the fact that you really have, as a developer, you really want to make sure that your team and your sales teams are trained to follow up with those leads immediately
Sure.
because you are spending a lot of money. I think that sometimes the big mistake I feel like that the developers, right, like a development teams, um, not a mistake, but kind of like the thing that's happening sometimes where like those leads like kind of go into the no one's land, you
Sure.
know. Yes, we rotate people who are answering and whoever answers faster gets that lead and things like that. But I think that as a developer, besides just the agent being assigned to that, you have to nurture your own leads at the same time, kind of like, so you want to put them into the drip campaigns and continue nourishing and telling them the story about that project.
Right. Right. Okay. So, and then Google Ads, besides the keywords, are there other functions of Google Ads that you like or that you recommend either for a developer or general real estate agents?
So again, I think budgeting wise, I think it is more suitable for development, right? But you have the retargeting ads, you have the PMX campaigns that is more like a banner ads that are showing up on Gmail and YouTube and all of these places. And we've seen great results, and it will definitely bring your lead cost down with those as well.
Anastasia, what about LinkedIn? Is it still, I mean, I know it's great for professionals, right? B2B, but is there a role there in your marketing mix?
I love LinkedIn. I think that it is still a very underutilized platform for uh, to position yourself as an expert, especially if you are working with professionals, right? Or like maybe you specialize, like if you came out of like financial industry or banking or anything like that, and a lot of your contacts and LinkedIn connections are in that industry, and now you are doing real estate, I think you should tell everybody that that's what you do. So there are different platforms that I actually utilize uh, in order to automate some of those outreach campaigns. And one of them is called Dripify. And what it does is it allows you to generate generate a list of potential connections, right? Like, let's say, especially if you are working in B2B industry and you do work with a lot of professionals. For example, I think this is a good example to kind of get the ball rolling. Let's say you are a relocation specialist and help people relocate. And now you know that Kaseya is moving to Miami and opening up their headquarters. Wouldn't be a great idea to start reaching out to Kaseya employees to say that you will, that this is what you do and you help with relocation, right?
Sure.
So then you can generate a potential list of connections from Kaseya, and there is many ways to filter out that connection list. Like maybe the departments or what they do within the company. And if you know if it's like a specific department that's moving here, you can filter it out by like the function of that department. And then you will plug it into this platform and it will allow you to send out automatic connection requests. There's a limit to it, probably like 100 a week. However, it's something that you set up on the back end that you don't touch. And then you send out the connection request and you can send out the follow-up messages. And I've generated leads for my business like that. I've generated leads for my clients like that. And it's been a really interesting way of setting things up besides just general like posting on LinkedIn or, sponsoring posts and making sure that you are showcasing yourself as expert.
It's sorry to cut you off. So it's essentially you're sending DMs into the people's inboxes, and is it automated? Did I hear that
So
correctly?
that's automated. Yes. So you're sending connection request first.
Okay.
And then when they connect with you, you can send out just regular message DMs,
Sure.
within the LinkedIn saying that, okay, I know that Kaseya is moving to Miami and I would love to represent you and help you find your home or school or whatever you help your clients to do, with
Okay.
that.
I like that. And you mentioned in terms of posting and positioning yourself as an expert on LinkedIn, how do you tweak LinkedIn content, or is it essentially a carbon copy of what you posted on Instagram and Facebook?
I think it's a slightly different strategy for LinkedIn, right? So you would like to again, before, right, when we did post some beautiful images just for engagement and things like that, I would definitely skip those. A lot of content that you post on your Facebook and Instagram, you can definitely reuse on LinkedIn. The actual posts without images, where like it's more like thought-provoking posts, tend to do better on LinkedIn. So even if you like do a blog post on your website about, this topic or that topic or something that you see new coming out in the industry, it's good to just put it as a post. Like shorten it, make it like really up to the point, get a good hook, and again, use ChatGPT to that advantage to get some good hooks and start that post without even any images. And we see those actually do really well.
That's interesting. And one thing I want to say about chat, which I think is a huge, amazing tool. There's probably, I don't want to say very few, but there's likely a lesser number of people now that are not using AI in some way, shape, or form, or comfortable using it. Like, it's kind of like when Zoom first came out at first,
Yeah.
there's early adopters and people were scared. And now, Zoom is like the most regular thing. But using chat or a version thereof, right? One thing that I've noticed lately, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, is like whenever you get an email and it has the long hyphens, otherwise known as an M dash, that's like, okay, so this was run through ChatGPT or created entirely by ChatGPT. So I would say use it, but maybe it's just me, but like I like to take those out or like change it with a comma or a semicolon, just so it doesn't feel like, even if you wrote the whole message and it was beautiful and you just had ChatGPT proofreader clean it up and somehow it included those long hyphens, then I think that we're gonna eventually get to a point where it's the like reader thinking, okay, did you write this or was it just all ChatGPT? I don't know.
No,
That just came in my mind.
no, it's absolutely you're onto something. Besides the M dashes, I think is like the little rocket
Emojis, yeah.
and the little like star emoji that it's like
Social media captions.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's always the same emojis. So I tend to tell my ChatGPT to remove emojis, and much rather put my own emojis where I feel like they need to have some type of accent on the message. Um, and I just so I've been using a mix when I do. Obviously, you have to humanize that content. You cannot just plug it in what ChatGPT put it out. However, I've been using combination of ChatGPT and Claude, and I find that a little more humanizing, like for making sure that your voice is a little more not as like robotic because you can definitely like as a early adopter of ChatGPT, I have a feeling that I can recognize 90% of the time when people are using ChatGPT to write any copy. And it uses always the same type of triggers. Like it's not this, it's that, and things like that. Like when it's writing. So even when people are um, like the blog posts and email marketing, we all know who uses and what, like as an early adapter of those platforms.
For sure. We'll have to have a separate podcast at one point on like prompts, like ChatGPT prompts. I feel like that could be interesting, or at least a blog post. Because there's really a lot of nuances there. Anastasia, we're running out of time. This conversation could go all day, but I want to ask you one more thing, and then I want to give you closing thoughts. Testimonials. Okay, this is the last one that I want to hit on today in terms of marketing tips. Testimonials, I think, are a huge tool. Marketing mix, credibility. What are you using nowadays, or what are you telling your clients to use for testimonials? Are there any automations? Like, what's the best way to sort of get and leverage this all important sort of credibility builder?
Absolutely. So, testimonials is something that I think we often overlook. So, like, that's one mistake that people are making that I see. And also, like, even as a business owner now, I don't get the testimonials from clients. Luckily, like, my client runway is really long. So, it's not like I can get them throughout the months. However, I tend to forget. So, that being said, I think that they're very important now, especially because of AI. And one of my clients actually reached out that her son was doing the search on ChatGPT, who is the best realtor in Miami. And he was doing the search and it gave the search a name. And she's like, why is that not my name? Or like, why is it not my mother's name in ChatGPT? And it gave very specific reasons on what you have to do in order and how it kind of ranks
Sure.
and pulls that information and comes out with those answers. Right. So I think that those testimonials and having Google business profile and getting those Google testimonials and or Google reviews through that link is very important. Zillow. And also like being featured in those like trade publications um,
Traded or the real deal?
like all of those publications also. Yes.
Sure.
Um,
Oh, you like Google reviews for testimonials?
yes. Google.
Okay. There's no specific software that you're using in terms of, or I've heard of testimonial tree and certain things like that, but
I haven't used any of that. Doesn't mean that it's
sure.
not there, but yes.
I mean, I think a Google business profile is good anyway to have as an agent, and then funneling your reviews through there is good business practice. I like that.
Yes, and I think like with AI coming into place, it's very important to go through that.
All right, Anastasia, we could talk all day, but unfortunately, we're out of time, so we're gonna have to have you back on because these have been great insights. But closing reflections, if there's anything that we left, any stone unturned for today, anything you want the audience to take away, what would that be?
I think that one thing that we haven't touched on was to be proactive versus reactive and prepare to adapt quickly. The industry is moving fast, and so is marketing. I think marketing is moving a little faster than the industry. So If you are the early adopter of anything that comes out, usually, as a rule of thumb, you are uh, how do you
Uh,
call it?
uh,
Ahead of the
Ahead of the curve.
yes, you are ahead of the curve. So I think adaptation and not being so uh, like being stone set on something that this is the way I do things. Be open to the feedback and be open to do things differently, and to be to be the early adopter of those trends.
I love that. Anastasiia, give me your elevator pitch for Muse marketing for our listeners, their developers, their agents. They're considering help. You talked about a lot of amazing stuff here, and I think people got an idea of how sort of savvy you are with the marketing mix. 3 reasons why they should contact you.
Okay, so Muse Group, we are full service marketing agency. And the 3 reasons why you would like to work with us would be number one is as we sales alignment is a core of our business and what we do. We do produce beautiful creative. However, the goal is always sales and to produce more revenue for you and your either your business or
Yeah,
sell out the project, etc. Second, we like to be proactive versus reactive. So I do like to do like marketing plans, and I know that it's maybe not even like things change, and obviously the marketing plan will change. However, I do like to look ahead at least 6 months and to know, okay, we are going on these trips, we are doing this events, we're going to do this. So we will focus our marketing and be proactively ready to with the invitations, with the ads, and anything that we do ahead of time, right? So even if we have to make changes, it doesn't bottleneck the production and we are timely in our conversation. And also leveraging AI and automation. I think that that's the biggest, also right now is like the key message that I would like to say is that my focus is to leverage as much AI and automations in order to for that timely communication, not only on like, you know, getting flyer out, but also to talk to the potential buyer, right? So all of the lead drip campaigns, making sure that it's all going in the right places, making sure that we leverage and we attach that lead on social media, on email marketing, on phone calls when the sales team reaches out and things like that.
I like it. I love it. We're going to leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Anastasiia Mann, CEO of Muse Group, Muse Marketing.
News group.
Muse Group. Get in touch with her because she is amazing, a real professional, brilliant, and will help you in your business. This was the Miami Real Estate Podcast. Once again, I'm Omar DeWin, Senior Vice President of Corporate Communications at Cervera Real Estate, who produces the Miami Real Estate Podcast. John Sebastian Avendano is our producer. Thank you, John, for the production support. Make sure to check back on the feed for new episodes regularly now this season. Find us on social, Miami Real Estate Podcast, and visit our website, miamirealestatepodcast.com. We're also available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. We'll include links to all the great tools and resources that we talked about in the show notes, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, remember that here in Miami, the future is always bright. Take care, folks.